Good evening and welcome to the Fairmont Area School Board meeting. Just as a reminder before we start, we need to conclude our meeting by 6 p.m. due to the elections. For roll call, all members are present. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have the minutes before you. I entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Thank you, Julie. Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion by Julie, second by Mike to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. For the agenda, we do have a green agenda before us, and if time permits, we will add a CER report at the end. If there's...
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Motion by Mike, second by Julie to approve the agenda. Any additions or discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. We have no celebrations, school community reports. We have our superintendent's report and calendar.
Thank you, Nicole. As we've worked our way through the summer months, we just concluded our 2 days of back-to-school registration on Friday and then yesterday on Monday. We are going to hold off until our first formal Minnesota Department of Education enrollment report in October before we start reporting on those numbers this year. But I just want to say thank you to our administrative team, our administrative assistants, our custodial maintenance staff that was flexible with the change in venue. We had a new school photo vendor with our local company, Seifrid Portrait Studio. They did a great job and were very organized and well prepared for this event. So just a thank you to everyone that was involved, and thank you to our families for coming to school and getting those pictures taken and helping us get ready for the upcoming school year.
I already got the proofs of my pictures, and
Yeah,
that
they
is
just texted today.
That's
Yeah.
pretty slick. So Steve so far has delivered on what he said. That's been pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So next, Buildings and Grounds. Tyler Garrison, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, and his staff continue to work on a variety of projects, some relatively new updates. Last spring, we had ordered a new cargo trailer. Our previous one was 30 years old and needing replacement, so that was done, and that is on site. It is in the process of being wrapped with an emblem to note that it's a Fairmont Area Schools trailer. It'll be used for our band program, robotics, and other school activities as well. Obviously, as technology has changed in the last 3 decades, it is much lighter than the old one, and they'll outfit it with the same shelving-like system that it had for band, and try to make it flexible for other activities. We also just learned the old softball field house. Tyler was hopeful it would be able to be used for additional storage. That is not the case, so it will be taken down completely in the relatively near future. We're still working with contractors and figuring out which company is going to help us with that. We had a large storm sewer back up with all the rain just to the west of us here out in the courtyard at the elementary school. So we're working with some local companies there to get that capped and taken care of. Our playground project is complete. The fence projects at the junior senior high school are complete, and they continue to plug away at projects. One of the bigger projects this summer is the renovation, or really the facelift with new paint and re-sanding and painting the floor in the gymnasium at the junior senior high school. Their deadline is August 22nd. They're expected to be done with painting by the end of this week. So next time you're in that building, it definitely looks different with the updated paint, and it looks really, really sharp. So great job with the companies that we're using there. Facilities assessment update. We started that adventure here this summer, and we sent out a feedback survey on our facilities to all school staff last week. That included you as board members. There will be a point that we look for community feedback at this time. We're in the data gathering stage internally. Our principals spent time today, I believe it was, meeting with representatives from ICS, the company that we're working with, to get their perspectives as we continue to work through the process. So they've been on site a couple times in the last couple weeks there. One of the things that's before you tonight on the agenda is final approval of some forms before the school-based health center gets going with our collaboration with Open Door Health Center. They've been at our school registration. They've been providing information. They're not yet scheduling appointments because they're waiting for the forms to be approved by you as board members here tonight. And just know we'll have ongoing advisory committee meetings, so if there are adjustments and things operationally that need to be made as we go, we will take that into account. With that, our next board meeting is in 2 weeks. We're back to a twice a month schedule. We'll be here August 27th, again at 5:15 p.m.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Trado?
I was in the gym a couple of weeks ago before the floor had been started to paint, but it is noticeably bigger and brighter in there. It just looks like a much bigger building than it used to, just because of the change in the colors. So it's going to be pretty exciting to look at, I think.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to financial business, donations.
I do not have an appendix A, I don't think. Okay, I got one now. Thanks. Thanks, Jen. We have a resolution to accept a donation or grant as provided for in Minnesota statutes. The donor is multiple donations from the organization Donors Choose for a button maker and buttons in the amount of $600 that will be designated for the elementary art room. I move that we accept this donation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the donation. Any discussions? Discussion? All right, roll call vote. Jen?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mike?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Mari? Aye. Thank you, motion carries. We have financial report and bill. Jessica?
Yes, so you have the wire transfers from June 29th to August 7th, July 17th single check, and then payment of July 23rd, and both tonight's August 13th bills. I think one thing I'd just like to point out that Andy had brought up on the gym project is on the August 13th bill run, there is a payment to Right Way Painting for the painting of the gymnasium project in the total of $57,720. Otherwise, there's a lot of payments for all different projects in the bills. Do you have any other questions on them?
I'll make a motion to approve the wire transfers for June 29th, 2024 to August 7th, 2024, the July 17th, 2024 single checks, and payment of the July 23rd and the August 13th, 2024 bills.
Thank you. We have a motion by Julie, second by Mari. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. At the beginning of every school year, we have the wonderful opportunity to approve new student school board members, and this year, Superintendent Trado is recommending that Elena Hafner and Grace Simpson be approved as student school board members for the 2024-2025 school year. I make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? They're not here tonight, but they will be here starting with our September board meetings, and we'll do a formal introduction of them then.
Was there any interest for a junior class member for that position? Are we going to recruit
Yes.
upcoming?
There-
Because in the past, we've kind of had one that followed and,
We've tried, 2 school years ago, last year we had a senior and a junior. The previous year we had one member that was a senior. The previous year we had 3 members. So it's ebbed and flowed, but yes, Grace and Elena have both been very open to the idea of helping recruit a potential junior board member to succeed them the following year.
I mean, doesn't have to be now, but, sometime even after the school year, unless they're scared of us, but, I would look forward to having somebody to kind of learn the ropes so that, there can be, like I said, a junior member and a senior member just be very beneficial.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meal prices? Appendix B. Do you have that, Dan?
In Appendix B, we have the recommended food prices for next year. As is state statute now, lunch and breakfast will be offered to all elementary and junior, senior high school students for free. The adult prices as listed are $2.40 for breakfast and $5 for lunch. I make a motion to approve the school meal prices as offered in Appendix B.
I'll second.
I think we have a motion by Dan, a second by Jen. Any discussion?
Now, this is state statute that these student prices are basically nothing. Is that just continued to the end of this school year? Is there something that's going to be renewed in legislative policy, or is that ongoing? Do we have,
I think there's two different thoughts on that. Like, one is thinking that legislation was only for 2 years
Right.
after that, but we haven't heard that it's going to end.
expire or
Correct.
anything?
Correct.
So, but at this time, it's continuing to the end of this next school year, to the end of our school fiscal year,
That is correct.
and then legislature will meet probably again in the spring, and, okay, thank you.
And by the way, the adult breakfast price is actually reduced from $2.65 this year to $2.40.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often these days, does it? So, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a student handbook. We invite the principals up here to discuss that.
All right, good evening, Superintendent Trado, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam Chair. Thank you for inviting us to share some of the handbook changes that are occurring for the 24-25 school years. In your packets, there should be a summary of changes to the handbook. Most of the changes are pretty small considering the time we had put in over the past 2 years. And so it was nice that the meetings were highly productive and we were able to get through this in record time since my time here.
Is that because none of us were there?
You weren't there.
Maybe.
That's why.
Maybe.
I try to bring you guys all into it, that's fair.
It was easy.
So instead of going through every single change that's on there, some of it's just changing the font and print. We moved a district policy 533 to a more appropriate space, which is under after chemical health support, as it better pertains to that. Got a little clearer on expectations for personal devices brought to school, that any personal technology that includes laptops students use when brought to school shall adhere to school policies. That helps us with like firewall protections and expectations of appropriate use, just kind of a blanket statement for that. We added under cell phone policy on page 11 a piece about cameras, which was highly recommended from the Minnesota Secondary Principals Association, that cameras are not to be used in school only for class assignments, class projects, or for teacher and principal approved occasions. Videotaping and photography without staff or student or staff permission is prohibited. Under no circumstances should cameras, including cell phone cameras, be used in locker rooms or bathrooms, and students are expected to comply with the data privacy at all times. Failure to do so results in disciplinary action as deemed appropriate by administration. A big piece of that is the bathrooms, locker rooms has been in the Minnesota State High School League handbook for many years. And while Minnesota is a single user approver, like I can videotape and not tell you, schools do have authority to expand that to keep a safe and productive learning environment, and so that is what's been done. for under discipline, under cell phone, if there's chronic use of it, changing it from chronic defiance / noncompliance, which is no longer a code in Skyward, to chronic disrespect. So it's trivial little piece there. Updated some personnel with Tracy Lardy becoming the dean. Modified learning is added to the title of school suspension as we code incidences with modified learning when the intention is to return the student back to their regular day after they have gone through some form of learning based on their actions. So that can include a thinking report, discussion with support staff. This was something that I brought to, again, the Principals Association and both the lobbyist and the head of that association to see if we are in compliance with Minnesota statute, and as long as we are providing that educational opportunity to address the behavior, we are. So we are going to be able to use that. We have eliminated badges as we are no longer giving them, and we don't require them for events or access for lunch anymore as we've gone to the bio reader. And just changing some verbiage for the media center is about the only other changes there.
So you mentioned the bio reader. I remember a couple of years ago there was some concerns about using the bio reader. Are we pretty much, everybody's accepted of that now?
Yeah,
We don't have, I mean, at one time they had to actually, sign a form that said they.
Yeah, starting fourth year now, I think I can remember one conversation about the biometer, and that was year one.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are other options for punching in a code or getting a kid if families so choose, but vast majority have no problem with the bio readers.
Perfect, thank you. The only other question I have is on first page of the summary of changes, over-the-counter pain relief medication. Is that defined as anywheres in this policy? I couldn't find it as to what that included, whether that included, actual pain medication, because otherwise too, some people can call cold flu medication. I just didn't know if that needed to be further divided down.
Sure,
as in generic brand names, or.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to pinhole yourself into a corner,
Yeah,
but I think too, that we took the language and most of the verbiage from board policy, so it might be something upon policy reviews to, look deeper into.
Okay.
In our students, parent or guardian does have to sign an authorization for administration of medicine in our schools. Like as part of their registration paperwork, there's a form that
Correct.
you indicate.
That says, so that's, the parent says that my child can take Tylenol as needed,
Correct.
or I mean, I'm probably dating myself because I don't have anybody that I'm responsible for filling out the paperwork, but they have to actually say what it is. Like if they have a prescription med as well, they list that.
Correct. So if it's a prescription med, typically those are either administered at home or via the nurse's office and are stored in a locked cabinet.
Okay.
So the student would have to report that we use our Skyward Student Information System to track those student visits and the administration of the medication.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, for the administration piece, we are bound by Minnesota to keep very clear record of that, and also there's pieces where it cannot come to school on a school bus. It must be delivered to the office. I mean, those are really important pieces to the prescribed medication.
Sure, and that's good to know for anybody,
Absolutely.
especially if you started school and you did not have a prescription. Just a reminder too that if there's any changes throughout the school year, then that would be what they'd have to.
Correct. And I think our parents and our office staff do a phenomenal job of communicating, like, hey, I'm going into surgery, or we recently has a new diagnosis that we need a medication for, walking our parents and families and guardians through that process really well. So they do a great job.
Perfect. Thank you. Like I said, I just didn't know if we needed more clear, but that does make a lot of sense about painting ourselves in a corner too. So thank you.
One other thing I'd like to mention is the cell phone toolkit that the state had brought out, and the Minnesota Principals Associations, both at elementary and secondary. Minnesota passed a statute that every school board or every district needs to have some sort of cell phone policy on record to limit the amount of cell phone use in the class or in the learning spaces. And so I'm just bringing back that 2 years ago we had implemented a new cell phone policy, which it was ahead of its time, I guess, because now many schools are adopting a very similar policy to what we're have been implementing. So this is a great opportunity for us to reintroduce that to students, parents, and our staff to make sure that we're staying in the spirit of what the state is requiring and what we have done in the past. And so in the past, we've put together the flyers, much of the same documentation that talks about mental health and sleep and the negative effects of screen time is also referenced in the toolkit. The disciplinary procedures were very similar in the toolkit as to what we have implemented. We have created cell phone contracts for those with the chronic disrespect and to school policy. So these are some of the things that we have created. And then also we have changes to the handbook, and within this in 22 was our cell phone changes, and so we plan on making that presentation available to our families again with some minor updates with personnel and information on the cell phones. So
Two-part question on the cell phone.
Sure.
Chad. Do you think that our policy is strict enough? And secondly, the only complaints that I've heard were about staff not actually following our policy. And so are we making any changes to ensure compliance with our policy? Because I think it is fair to say that we were ahead of our time, and I was there at those meetings. And it's important, and we were right about it, and that's why I asked if we're doing enough. And just my interactions have been zero pushback of a negative variety, but all entirely enthusiastic. Thank you for doing that. But it is frustrating when I would hear about it not actually being followed by our own people in charge of implementing it. So I want to make sure that we are still strict enough, and there's room for improvement there. Let us know. And secondly, what are we doing to make sure that it's actually being followed? Which is pretty important.
yeah, I guess I answer that in multiple parts. I would say the toolkit suggests that no phones anytime, anywhere, and then optional is for 9-12 kids to have access between classes and at lunch, which is exactly what we're doing.
As part of a phase out, though, right? I mean, wasn't the initial intent to, like, this kid's a junior now, a senior, they've had their phone, it's different than perhaps my seventh grader that's coming to the building for the first time. They don't know life with a cell phone, so they shouldn't have it ever.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
You don't think a seventh grader has life of a cell phone?
In school, no.
In school, maybe not, but I think your seventh graders have more access to cell
Right.
phones today than they did years ago.
Yeah.
Right, but
And
not
it's-
in school, though. They have no expectation or experience of having a cell phone being used in school, and that should be their experience their whole
Yeah,
time.
and as far as the compliance piece, I think back to the sub meeting. So we met with all the substitute teachers, and we discussed how important it is to model appropriate behavior and not having our phones out in front of students.
Yes.
Because specifically in the toolkit, it mentions how important that staff also follow these policies and model it, and that they use phones during prep or not in front of students. And so that's another piece that we will continue to follow up on throughout the year to, hold firm on the cell phone policy. And then the other piece is, we have students who, choose to, continue to bring the phones. And, at this point, we start looking at other things too, like how is it affecting attendance? Because if you are completely stuck on your phone, so I'm going to back up. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So 2 years ago, we had a diversion meeting for attendance at the spec building, and we were sitting there, and the thing that hit me in the face was all these kids struggling with attendance. They pulled up screen time, and some of these kids had 18 hours of screen time on their phone in a single day. That's their average, right? And so for students who continue to struggle with following cell phone policy, now the question is, what other effects is it having, and drawing families in, having conversations, following up every couple of weeks to see how we're doing, how are changes at home, increased sleep, what can we do to support the student? Because we know we have to do more than just punitive. We have to, meet the kids where they're at and provide the supports they need.
I'm happy to hear you say that, Chad, because this is not it's pretty obvious that I'm not a big restrictive control without reason person. And we spent a lot of time on this. All the data, all the science, all the research supports exactly what we're doing. It's research-based, it's fact-based, it's evidence-based. And it's not just us trying to take an opportunity to control and remind people who's the boss. Like, that's not what we're doing. And what you just said absolutely tells me that you get it, and I really appreciate you saying that, because some of these kids need our help, because that is their next. That's just the setup of how that goes forward is all kinds of problems. So I'm glad that you're taking that holistic approach.
Any further questions for Mr. Brusky?
I make a motion to approve the.
I think we're going to do the elementary at the same time, or
We're
not?
doing both together?
Yeah, elementary. Yeah.
No, okay, you're right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to be here tonight. So this is quite a bit shorter at the elementary level. We
I
only
can
have
make
one.
it longer. I got a bunch of questions.
We have only one change in the handbook. It's page 8, which is similar topic of the cell phone usage. Letter C, if a student chooses to bring personal electronic device, cell phone to school, such devices are a student's responsibility and should be kept in their locker throughout the school day. That is a common practice that we have been using for many, many years. The statute is K-8, that it should be kept in lockers. You can bring them to school, but it does stay in lockers throughout the day. So that is now just in writing. And then and that the school is not responsible for any personal electronic devices or accessories that are damaged, lost, or stolen while on school grounds. So that's just a statute piece that was written in this year.
Are you're adding the kind of a catch-all to include like iPads and other things that are
Correct.
technically a cell phone? That's
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
And so that is a K-8 expectation to the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
And that is all we've got.
Now I make
Thanks,
a
Brian.
motion to approve both the
Thank you.
secondary and elementary handbooks.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Mike, second by Jen. Any discussion?
Real quick, I just want to say, 2 years ago, we were on the leading edge of this. And if you look at the state's toolkit and you compare it to the work that our administrative team and social workers did 2 years ago, it's a model of each other. And so, just is a piece of evidence to the good work and in the foresight that our team had here to be on top of this, to make sure we're doing best to support our kids to have a great education here.
That's absolutely. It was a very thoughtful process, and I was happy to be part of it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a memo of understanding with EM Fairmont.
Yeah, so briefly, for reasons that predate, reasons from starting a long time ago, there has been an issue with the period of time at which staff's contribution to the healthcare premiums was pulled from their paycheck, and when the premiums actually needed to be paid, which essentially left a window of about 2 months worth of premium coverage. This has been an ongoing issue, and it kind of resets itself every year. It's never been fixed. We're fixing the glitch, if you will. We've agreed with the union to essentially go halvesies on that one-time 2-month cost. And the memo, I believe it's appendix, is it E?
Oh, no.
E, yeah, not G, E in your packet. I don't think I need to read it word for word, so I would ask that we approve this settlement agreement between the district and the union represented in this memorandum of understanding to fix this issue, which I understand is not going to be an issue going forward. So I make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding as outlined in appendix E of your board packet.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to throw a thank you to Jessica for all her hard work on this too. She's been on the phone a lot with our school attorneys, with our insurance advisor to make sure we get this right. And thank you to her for all the time, energy, and effort she put into it, as well as the collaboration with our local group to get this corrected on behalf of our members. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have before us a resolution calling for school board election.
Yes, as in previous years, as every 2 years, we come across and need to elect new or re-elect members to the school board, as long as any other state and federal offices. So we need to have a resolution that states that we are going to have our election in this fall, including in the general election, and that'll be Tuesday, November 5th. The resolution is enclosed in Appendix F, so I will introduce the resolution that calls for the election, for the school board election to be polled in Tuesday, November 5th, along with the general election. The filing period began, those who wanted to file was July 30th and ended today at 5 p.m. And 3 board members who are currently on our board that offices or seats are up for re-election that expire this year are Dan Brookins, Nicole, and myself. So with that, like I said, I'll introduce that resolution and move for its adoption.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Julie and a second by Dan. We need any discussion? We need a roll call vote. Jen?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mike?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Mari?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We are moving on to Open Door Health Clinic, parent-patient health documents.
The Open Door Health Clinic parent-patient health documents are in Appendix J. These documents are to be filled out by parents for student appointments at the Open Door Health Clinic and are included for review. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the Open Door Health Clinic parent-patient health documents.
I'll second it.
I think we have a motion by Mari, second by Julie. Any discussion?
So we're not custodians of this document at any point, correct?
Correct.
So that was a very nerdy question. This is not our document. We don't keep it. We don't control it. This is
No.
their document.
Correct.
But no, we have to prove that it's going to be used within our,
So why are we approving their document that we don't control or possess? Or-
To make sure it aligns with our expectations for how the health center will
And
operate.
so does it align with your expectations?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I read through it.
it was, obviously all of you have reviewed it, and some of you have provided feedback in different things, and I've worked, the compliance officer on behalf of Open Door Health Center is on vacation, and she was willing to schedule a call with me at 8 a.m. this morning to make sure we have things as they are needed to meet our expectations for how the school-based health center portion of Open Door Health Center will operate.
And
So-
there were some changes from when we
Yep.
originally got it, because it was their original Open Door Health Clinic document, as opposed to, it didn't have any real reference to the school-based health center. And basically, the change is that if you're under the age of 16, you have to have a parent. If you're under the age of 13, you cannot be seen without a parent present. If you're under the age of 16, a parent must be present to sign a form if they don't want to be with you in the appointment, or they have to be present. And then between 16 and 18, there are certain laws within the state of Minnesota that govern what we have to do at any clinic, and 18 and above basically are adults, and that's how they're treated as such in the student health clinic. So
So the appendix that's in front of you reflects those changes
changes. Yeah.
as discussed.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion, and did we get a second?
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we have personnel before resignations. That would be Dan.
Following staff have submitted letters of resignation effective June 5th. Morgan Byer, high school math teacher who had worked for the district for 2 school years. Tyler Benscoter, high school Spanish teacher who completed 3 school years in our district. Gracie Zemer, high school paraprofessional. This past school year was Gracie's first year with the district. Ashley Mateer, elementary paraprofessional. She served the district for 5 years. And Jill Monahan, high school paraprofessional, who has served the district for 9 years. She will be starting a new job as a long-term substitute for the 24-25 school year. I make a motion to accept those resignations as offered.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Employment. Jen?
Principals Bresky and Principal Schultz have recommended the following new employments: Aaron Perkins, high school science; Carissa Madej, high school math; and Jill Monahan, junior high school science, long-term sub. I make a motion to approve those employments effective 8/26/24.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to fall coaches. Jen?
The list of recommended coaches for fall sports is included in Appendix G. I'll make a motion to approve the employment for coaches for the 24-25 fall sports teams.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Discussion I have are the black lines, are those open positions yet?
Those are new positions. It's red on the document, and then when we printed it, if you look really close, you can see names.
I
are
need
there.
better bifocals.
Yeah, so those are new hires that are new
Okay.
coaches that were not a part of the schedule last year.
Okay.
And then I would just add that due to increasing participation numbers in our junior high volleyball, at a future board meeting, the August 27th meeting, I am making the recommendation I'm supporting the recommendation, I should say, of our activities director, Matt Mahoney, to add a 3rd junior high volleyball coach due to an increase in participation numbers. So that'll come before you as an added individual to this list, separate at the August 27th board meeting.
Thank
So
you.
then, as of this time, then, we have all of our fall coaches as needed, except for this addition
Correct.
for the volleyball.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to contract settlements. I'll present that. We are getting very closer to time, so you have before you in Appendix H and I the respective contracts for online learning coordinator and the administrative support assistants. They are both effective for the 2024-25 school year and the 2025-26 school years. I make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our committee reports. Curriculum Committee, Julie?
Yes, curriculum met a long time ago. I was given the notes, and I was going to keep it right in front of me, and I can't find it. But anyway, we met in July, so a long time ago. Here, I found it. And we discussed, and we are still continuing to discuss. We really haven't made a decision as to where to go, but there is kind of ongoing discussions regarding weighted grades within the high school setting, whether we should weight classes based on their rigor and whether we shouldn't. It has been brought to our attention that some colleges do unweight classes when students do enroll from the transcript, but there is some evidence that it doesn't get done for every school for every college. So we're still going to look at that. And the other thing was we discussed the PSEO contract with Minnesota West MSU Mankato and talked with that. So, okay.
Okay.
And we'll probably resume our regular policy meetings. And oh no, that was curriculum. But we will continue with policy now as a school district, or the school year goes back. So.
Okay, thank you,
Done.
Julie. CER? Mari?
Summer programming has wrapped up. Fall offerings are live on the web store. The fall brochure will be available online at the end of next week. And there are still some spots available for Cardinal Prime, if anybody's into that, before and after school, so.
Days are coming to be signing up if you're needed to, so.
You go
Any-
through CER to sign, I had a question where you sign up for that. I told them to call the office, but you call CER
I believe
to
so.
do that?
Yeah, you can call the office too. That's an
Okay.
appropriate redirection. It's through our RevTrak online
Okay.
enrollment payment system, so it is, the registration goes through CER, but
Gotcha.
yeah, any of our offices will be able to help with that.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we are done at 5:56 PM.
Just under the wire.
Okay, I finally figured out at the end what I was messing up on. 'Cause, you know, I've always on here looked for the name of who's
Oh, yeah.
doing it, and it's on
Yeah,
the reference
the
sheet
reference.
instead of this.
Yeah.
So